Hey, what's up? Hope everyone's doing all right today. So this week's reading was Second Kings 19 through First Chronicles 12. And so as you come to an end of Second Kings, you have oh my gosh, I forget his name, Hezekiah, I think. When you had the angels come, or the angel came and smote whoever came to encamp against Hezekiah. I think it was Hezekiah. When they came and they say like, who's going to deliver you? None of these other gods were able to deliver the other people that we've conquered, and so we come to conquer your city. And I think it was Hezekiah prayed to God, and Isaiah told him that God was going to set him, or was going to set the city free, and to get him, save him. And then they sent an angel of the Lord, and it smote like an outside of the Hezekiah, outside of Jerusalem, like 100,000 people. And so it's really, really interesting. I was curious how this angel came. I always imagine like the scene that would have been there, and I guess it was at nighttime, but by morning they were all gone. So you kind of come to the end of that, kind of come to the end of Hezekiah, and I'm not sure if Manasseh was after Hezekiah. I think Manasseh was after Hezekiah, and so you have like this falling away of this final falling away from God that both Israel and Judah does, or Samaria and Israel does, and or Jerusalem and Samaria, both, but all the tribes fall away from God excessively, like to the extreme, and they get carried away, and so you kind of have the end of the the of David and his lineage of the kings of Israel, and they come back to Israel, and some stuff happens, but that's later on. The people return back to Israel and they build a temple again, but that's later on. And so, kind of the main themes that I have on Monday was Isaiah, the son of Amoz. And so in Second Kings, Isaiah is kind of mentioned when he comes and talks to, or Hezekiah comes and talks to him. But obviously Isaiah is like really, his prophecies and stuff like that are in it. He's got his own book in the Bible, and so he's mentioned obviously quite a lot more. But he's just briefly mentioned in Second Kings, towards the end of Second Kings, and so I wrote him down just because he is mentioned there. It's the first time he's mentioned there, and it's just he's obviously like a huge part of the Bible and a huge part of the prophets and a huge part of a lot of things that happen. So, but he's mentioned, and son of Amoz, and so he's Isaiah. When you read Isaiah later on, it's really difficult to understand a lot of his prophecy. I feel like Jeremiah is a lot easier to understand, a lot more easy to understand, but Isaiah is like really hard to understand. I feel like, at least so. But we'll get to Isaiah. We'll talk more about him when we actually get to on the book of Isaiah. And so on Tuesday I have King Josiah, and King Josiah is the one, I think it's after Hezekiah, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's after Hezekiah, and even after Manasseh. And King Josiah, I think he started reigning when he was 12 years old, and 8 or 12. And so, but he and Hilkiah the priest found the book, or Hilkiah the priest found the book of the Lord inside the temple, and came to King Josiah and told him like, hey, this is the book, what God wants us to do. And Josiah like rent his clothes, and he was like, oh my gosh, we're doing all these things wrong. And so he really turned back Jerusalem, the city of David, and Judah, back to God, and did everything that God wanted him to do, but still wasn't enough for all the sins that Manasseh did. And God inevitably did take Jerusalem out of there. And so it's just kind of interesting to me, because even though Jerusalem repented, and by the hand of Josiah and Hilkiah the priest, even though they repented and they tried to change their ways, they still were carried away. And like, I think their generation was fine, but the generation after them, I think another evil king came. I forget what happens, but at any rate, maybe it's because another evil king came. I forget, and made it so it's going back again to evil. And so if they would have kept their repentance, then maybe it wouldn't have been so bad, or maybe they would have been able to get out of there. But I forget if he doesn't keep his repentance or not. But either way, I mean, I'll look into it more as I read further, because I'm just learning as I go. I'm kind of remembering everything as I go, and just studying more and more, and trying to understand this more and more, because I believe this is history, and academia is not exactly history. So it's really good to kind of go through this and to really understand it, and just to read it over and over again. That's what I'm doing, at least Bible, or cover to cover of the Bible. But anyways, King Josiah, he found the book and stuff like that, and so he really tried to turn Jerusalem back into what God wanted him to do, and he destroyed a lot of the images and everything, and just did everything really great. And he was really after his dad, really was like a son of David. And then so that was Monday, Isaiah. Tuesday was Josiah. And then Wednesday for my theme, I did Hilkiah the priest. And Hilkiah the priest, he was the one that found the book of the Lord in the temple and brought it to King Josiah. And they started like building back up the temple and started doing repairs, I'm pretty sure, on it. And they started to really do, a lot of work and to really do what God wanted them to do. And they actually, Hilkiah and a couple other people, they went and they talked to, which on Thursday was Huldah the prophetess. And they went to the college, which is interesting. It's the only time I think that the Bible mentions the word college, but Huldah the prophetess was in the college. They say it was in the college, so it was really interesting. And they went and talked to her, and they asked what God wanted, or what God was going to do. And Huldah the prophetess told them, God's super upset because of Manasseh in particular, but I think he's also upset because of other things. But I'm not exactly sure the prophet said because of other things, or just Manasseh's. And said, people are going to be carried away, and they're just going to destroy Israel pretty much, or Jerusalem pretty much. And but it's also very interesting because there's not too many female prophetesses in the Bible. There's not too many female points of authority in the Bible, but there is a couple. There's her, and there's a couple other ones. I think there's one more other prophet. I forget what her name was, but she was in one of my days that I had. I thought about her, and during that day, I reflected on her and her life and where her process is in the Bible. But so there are female prophetesses in the Bible, which is interesting because in the New Testament it says that women are not to usurp the authority over man. But in the Old Testament you have prophetesses, and so I would imagine these prophetesses were able to usurp authority over men, at least some types of men, but maybe not prophetesses that are men. So maybe they're not to usurp the authority over men, and like whatever authority that they're in. Like obviously a mom can usurp authority over her son. And so it's not, when this is said, it's not obviously it's not like obviously in every single case, because women can obviously usurp authority over man, or over their over their son. And so I just think that you have to take all of these things in the Bible into account when you're deciding who really has the authority in a situation. And I think that if you're in truth, then I think that whoever's talking, whoever's there, you can kind of just tell who's got the authority. I don't think you need to really address it so much, but if you're living in truth, then you can just kind of feel the vibe in the area, who's got the authority in that situation or not. And so I think it is an interesting thing to think about, though, especially I think for women, they're like, okay, where is our role? Where do we fit in? And, especially when it comes to this, because the Old Testament, they were prophetesses, at least there was a couple of them. And so they can be prophetesses, but in the New Testament it says, women are not to usurp authority over men, or even talk in the church. And so these are completely kind of different things. And so how do you reconcile these two beliefs? I feel like you have to take them into account and distinguish, or to understand what's the right thing to do. Obviously, I don't think that women should be pastors, but because it says women shouldn't have authority over church. So what does that mean if a woman was a prophetess? Now, I don't know if women can be can be prophets anymore, or prophet, whatever, female prophets. It's possible they can be. I've never run a situation where I came across a female prophet before. I do think that I run across situations where I think, but I don't really know, though. So I don't know. I would have to run across a situation to know if a female. Everyone around me deceives me and lies to me, so I don't really, never been around a woman that was honest. And I don't know if you can be a prophet of God in these days and age, and where we are right now after Christ, and be of deception, or be under the control of deception. I guess maybe they are truthers, not allowed to talk to me, or whatever it might be. But I've never been around anybody who's claimed to be a prophet, and I've never been around a woman that claimed to be a prophet. So if I ever came across a woman who was able to be honest with me and real with me, and was a prophet and claimed to be a prophet, then I would be able to maybe understand if women can be prophets or not, even though they can't usurp authority over a man in the church. But maybe this is talking about women that aren't prophetess, women, just women that are just normal, like just a wife. And it doesn't say that. Why would it not say and that are prophetess? Well, it could be a prophetess, or it could maybe not be a priest. And so you can just argue the same thing. Okay, these are women that are not priests or not prophetess. And so where is the line drawn? And I guess I don't really know. I think that I'd have to come across a situation. And I have come across situations where women were or talked in the church, but I don't think that I don't think that anybody should be a priest. I don't think that this modern setup for like a priest, or there should be evangelists, and there should be preachers, but as far as like a single man who runs a church, I don't think that's right. I think that this man or a woman, I don't think there should be a preacher. I don't think there should be one person who runs a church, because I feel like this often makes it so that the church, this person takes the place of God. So I don't think there should be a man or a woman that's a preacher, because, well, the way that the church is set up, I think this is wrong in both ways. And so should there be a female preacher? No. Should there be a man preacher? No, I don't think so. Not the way things are. Should there be women who speak in church? No, there says that the women shouldn't speak in church. So if a woman's a prophet and she's in church, she should be able to speak in church. I don't know. Maybe I'd have to cross that situation in order to know if that's the right thing to do or not. My gut tells me, I don't know. My gut tells me that I have to be in a situation to know, because I've never seen anything like that before. And I don't think that, maybe since for me in my life right now, at least, it's a non-issue, then maybe I feel like I haven't really been given the right situations or the right information from God to know if that's the right thing to do or not, is my gut feeling. And so maybe with this situation arose, God maybe opened my eyes to the understanding of the Bible, what the Bible means by this thing. If I saw this, if I saw a female who was a prophetess and she spoke in church and this was right in some kind of way, then maybe God would open my eyes and make me understand, or help me to understand why this is I've never seen before. So it becomes like a non-issue. And I think that if I was in a place of truth and I was in a situation where this might come about, I think God would open my eyes and help me to understand. Until then, though, I don't have like the situations and the events in my life to make me understand these things. And I think God, He's making me understand in other things and prioritizing other things in my life instead of things that don't really have any bearing in reality, because they're just not going to, unfold in front of me, at least for now. And then so Friday I have Jehoiachin, king of Judah. I don't even know who that is. I'll have to look that up. That's today, so I'm supposed to be. Here, let me go check real quick. Today's Friday, so I'm supposed to be kind of focusing on that right now. So let me see what Google says, so that I can kind of have I like to use Google as kind of like a as like a reference, just to kind of remind me of who these people are. I wonder why I have him as one of my guys. He's in Judah. He's not even a line of David. Why do I have him? I don't know why I have him as one of the main guys. Maybe because he was kind of the end. Maybe I have him reflecting there because he was kind of the end of the kings, and he was brought into captivity. I mean, I'm not sure why I have him as one of the days. I made this last year. I didn't make this, but I was supposed to reflect on today. But he was like kind of the last king of Judah, maybe. Maybe that's why I have him on there. He's like the last king of Judah, and it's the ending of it all. So maybe that's why I have him on there. But I'm not sure. It's getting interesting because most of these people I know why I put him on there, but I don't know why I put Jehoiachin. I might change that actually. I have a different thing on Fridays. I'll circle that and put a question mark by it and see. That might be one that I might change. But yeah, it was interesting. Then there's a lot of Chronicles, right? I read a lot of Chronicles today, and Chronicles is just really hard for me to read. It's just a lot of lineage, a lot of names, and just like a quick overview of Chronicles. Chronicles is super hard for me to read. There's like really nothing in there. There's a lot of David's men of war at the very, at the end of like First Chronicles 11, I think. But Chronicles is really, really hard. and to read, and it's just a lot of lineage, and so it's just difficult. It takes a lot out of me to read it for whatever reason, and I'm just, it's always interesting why they have this. And I wonder if I'm curious if it's Chronicles, because chronological order from the beginning of the Bible till the last part of the Old Testament, and so I'm kind of curious. I don't remember exactly, but I'm learning more and more as I go through. And anybody has any comments or any, I always love it if people can leave comments about questions that I have, or their opinion about things, or just things that I get wrong, because I'm just doing this to try to grow. So I just really appreciate it. But if anybody came to the end of this and watched this, I really do appreciate it, and hope everyone's doing okay. And hopefully my videos get better and better as time progresses. But anyway, I hope everyone's doing okay. God bless, and happy truth seeking.